Hello, I'm Beverly Hughes. I'll be going over Section 4 Reports and Utilities. The majority of the reports are going to be under Reports. I'm going to start by looking at backing up the system. When I looked at library reports, patron reports, and report builder, I was not able to find anything called backing up the system, backing the system, backup, anything of that nature. I tried the help section and a series of keywords and still did not find it. However, under Report Manager, there's a daily preventative maintenance that runs at 1 a.m. every day. So I went back under help, typed in daily preventative, and came up with Destiny system backups. From there, I looked over this and establishing a backup and restore plan for Destiny. The main thing here is not a step-by-step guide of what to do, but the overall idea that you need to have a plan. And in many cases, I was talking to media specialists, this is being done at the district level, but it's still a good idea to know what that plan is. So make sure you've got a plan. And I kept seeing the word daily pointed out. But within there, it goes over the difference in a weekend, which is a full backup, differential, which is nightly backup, and a log, which is an hourly backup. So if the database has to be restored in the full recovery mode, they would need all of these backups. And so perform a tail log backup to capture log entries since the last log, whatever happened since the last log. Restore the most recent full database backup. So start with your base, which is your weekends. Then go to your differential, which is the nightlies. And then a series of transactions to pick up these logs, any of the logs that were not picked up between the differentials and the fulls. At that point, you recover the database and it's able to be made ready for use. Now I'm going to look at running circulation reports. So when running circulation reports, you go to the reports menu. I chose patron reports. After patron reports, you go to current, checkouts, and fines. So there's different ways that you can look at circulations. You can look at what has actually been circulated, but most often people are going to want to know what is it that has been checked out that is overdue, that owes a fine. And there's different ways that you can categorize this. Notice that this one right here is a saved report. And so the saved report would be, I like to run this materials one every Monday, and you can consistently run a report. It could be that my media specialist, when I was a reading teacher, would always do, not that they were 2 weeks late, but they were over 2 weeks late. So I'm looking for people who have owed a material for a month. Or I've got students who owe something from October and it is now April. And so the overdue, you can, of course, make adjustments to that. So anything that's overdue, you can also change whether it is, for example, take out the fines if that's not what you're worried about, if you're just worried about the actual resources, or a resource fine. In this case, our school has one-to-one technology, and when a student owes something related to their computer, they broke their computer, they misplaced their computer, that fine is added into the resources, and that would be one of the things that they are missing. So a report can be a PDF, or you can have it in Excel. You can have it emailed to homerooms. This is not a feature that's set up on the system at my own school. So she does her report as PDF, and then you continue. And then from here, you're going to choose, am I only looking for people who are inactive? So there are people who have left our school and I've got to deal with whatever it is that they're missing, or are these just people who are active patrons? And in this case, it's graduating in 2019. I'm at a middle school, and so we have ours broken down by 6, 7, 8, but a graduating class would work very well for high school. And then any sort of resources that we're looking for, we continue. And then you're going to sort these. So we started with a format. I want the format to be my current checkouts and fines, or overdue books and fines. My limiters were things such as I'm only looking for students who are graduating this year and things that have been overdue for so long. And now I'm looking at specific details. And so these details can be by patron name, grade level, some sort of user-defined element. So I'm going to go by patron name. for if you were doing grade level, this is one I tried earlier, you can start a new page for each group. And so if you decide to do multiple grade levels at a time, that would work. So patron name is what I'm going to choose on this one. We want a barcode and the title. I know it might be helpful for students who are struggling with their reading, maybe not to find the title of the book, but to look for the cover image. Maybe English language learners would benefit from that as well. So patron information, of course, you can break this up by grade level and such. And you can save this. This is one you want to run all the time, so save that one. So I run the report. And I actually ran this earlier, so let's take a look. And here, so I see that this first patron is missing these items, and they were due on 7/31. And this person was missing these items at 7/31, and this one and this one. So that at that point, I can deal with these. And in one of the projects we did earlier, we were talking about how we protect our privacy of our clients, our patrons. And so at this point, I would consider, unless I called students individually and said, hey, here's some good things, here's some bad things, and mix them up so nobody knows, do it like just a little paste and snip. And you can send it to them. For us, we've got that one-to-one technology, as I mentioned. We send it through our Schoology, which is just our platform that we use. And so I could send that as a private message and say, hey, we're still missing these items. Can you get those to us as soon as possible? It's a way of contacting them while keeping their information private. Otherwise, I would just send them a note and say, hey, you're missing these things, and keep this list with me to be able to show it to them. I'm not going to say mistake. Let's say, for example, you did not care for the limiters on that one. It was not the way the report was supposed to read. You were wanting something different. Use your breadcrumbs right here. This part right here where it says patron reports, little arrow sign, current checkouts and fines. Click back to there. Instead of starting all the way over, you've already got some things and you just need to click one or two pieces. Use those breadcrumbs. They are very helpful. So now I'm going to look at inventory. So under inventory, instead of being under reports on this one, I'm going to go to back office. And under back office, I'm going to look for inventory. Under here, there's a set that's already been created for practice inventory. And so one of the things I thought was interesting is that you can, of course, start a new one or finalize one that has already been started. You start one and you say, I want it to run until I stop it, or you finalize one. So here are some things I learned from my media specialist. One, when you start a inventory, it is going to run until you stop it. And you can't run one to stop during the school day, but anything that is circulated in and out during the time that the inventory is taking place is going to be part of that report. And so I thought that those were both very interesting. It includes circulating material, but you can't just run a new one during the school day to finish during the school day. And those are pieces that are set up in Follett Destiny. So again, under back office, under inventory, this is view in progress and completed inventory. So this was a practice one, started, it says 4/9 of last year. And for example, I want to start a new one or I want to finalize. Let's start a new one to see what happens. We're going to inventory name this one Snipes 19. And you've got specific call numbers that you can put in here. Or I think earlier I ended up doing this like this. I want to start this inventory. Now that has started, and let's say I want to finalize it. Yes, I want to finalize this inventory. So I started that one, and let's say I finalized it. Now I want to look at in progress and completed inventories. And here I'm going to find this is in progress. And this is one of the things I'm finding very difficult is I look over something like this quickly. And I think the thing I'm looking for is not there. I have to remember there are tabs that are allowing you to do certain things and ignore certain things. So these are the ones that are in progress. These are the ones that they're still working on. These are the ones that are completed. And so the Snipes 19 that I ran just a minute ago is on here, and they've accounted for all 12,000. So I could view this one if I want to, and it would let me view the report and give me a completed library inventory for my fictional media center. So that would be an inventory. Now I want to look at a collection age report. So this would be a good way for those of you who are working on weeding. For my media specialist says she goes around and looks at the total pieces and individually picks them. I know on an assignment earlier in the program, I had to look at a certain section of the Deweys, and I chose the 300s, and the collection age report really was helpful to me at that point. So under reports, under library reports, I'm going to go down to statistics. There's historical, but the one I'm looking for, and in case you need to know before you click into it, you can do the show more and it'll tell you. This is call number ranges or obtain current circulation for specific copies. And so I'm going to choose the collection. And again, there's these tabs right here. So this is going to show me, based on the group call numbers, the percentage of circulation today, this month, this year, totally, since it's been in here, and the percentage, the copy count, and what percentage of the collection that represents. And so you can tell where a majority of your circulation is going to be. But then there's also age, and that is the report we're looking at. Notice this says printable. That is very, very handy. So if I find that a majority of a certain section is going to be of a certain age, for example, I am currently teaching 12-year-olds or 11 through 13 or 14. Anything that is going to be beyond that, anything that is going to be pre 9/11 or older than the actual school might be something I would consider is ready to be weeded, or I'd consider, for example, in the 300s, Joel Chandler Harris has a book that he put out in the 19th century, and that is going to mess up the age for the entire collection of the 300s due to it having an earlier copyright date. However, that is not a piece I would necessarily purge. Okay, and of course, this is a printable piece so that I can take a look at this and really aggregate my data. Okay, and finally, I want to look at barcodes and spine labels, but I want to look at this in two ways. So I'm going to start with the more obvious piece. You go to reports, you're going to go to reports, and then under barcode list, identify used and unused barcodes. And then I'm going to look for a range of barcodes that I could use. And at that point, I can run a report on those. I'm going to do the unused one. I was talking to my media specialist. I was talking to her about why would you need to run this unused one? Why does this matter? Where is this useful? And she was saying this becomes very useful when you're wanting to keep your circulation under, let's say, 10,000, under 15,000, whatever your number is, and you've got missing numbers, gaps in there. You've deleted something has been lost, it was not redone, or she ends up submitting or getting all of her list through the MARC records and such because she has Follett send her pieces, or Tidal Wave send her all of her pieces. And when they do, they send her with the barcodes. She says she's in such a tight connection with them. They, of course, know which one she needs, and it fills in automatically. But that would be one of the uses for an unused barcode list. So I'm going to show you the report for the used barcode list. These are the ones that are in use, and then it's like it shows us the gaps. Let's see if we can find the unused. That one is still pending. Let's see if I can find a different one. Here's an unused. There you go. So it looks like that is 30 barcodes that would be showing in that number. So in those cases, I would say, hey, I would like to reassign these for our next set, for our next 30 titles, so that I'm reusing those barcodes and keep them in the collection sort of tight. I want to quickly show you 2 ways to run barcode labels. Under reports, there's a barcode list, and this is where you can get your unused copy barcodes. So let's quickly look at that. So in this list, I can look at all the range of barcodes that are not being used right now and run a report on those. And I can find out which of these are not being used so that, did I do it used or did I do it unused? Let me go back and check. I did. So I need all my unused. So my number of barcodes I'm looking for, I want 10 of them. And let's start on barcode 1. And so we run, or you could have a certain range that you end up running. I'll come back to this report in just a second. I'm going to use my breadcrumb trail right here. Oops, did it update? Yes. That's fast. Okay, so I've got 4. I've got 4 that are available. T1, T7, T9, and T11 are ones that are available starting at T1, the first 10 unused barcodes. And so that would be very useful if you are trying to keep your collection under, let's say, 10,000 copies, under 15,000 copies, and you therefore anything that has been deleted or unused or marked lost, and you're choosing to use these things again, use these barcodes and spine labels again, you know which ones you're going to use that way. Is by running that quick report. Okay, so back at reports, and again, I'm going to go back over here, list copies. You can go to the ones you have used, and you know which ones you've got. Back under library reports, though, we're going to go down to labels. And again, you can look at show more, and it'll tell you about what the report is before you actually run it. Select use labels by resource, limit used labels, create a number of unused barcodes. So here, these are ones that are used. These are ones that are unused by using these tabs at the top. So I'm looking at used. 1 label per each barcode. I'm going to sort these by author. I think it would be easier for me to match them up to the book. There's a list. April books that I need to label. And so I could look at that list if I wanted to, and I could limit the kinds of materials. I only want books. And then what kind of information do I want in each? I want the site name. So I want where our school is. I want the title, and of course its call number. And then there's different types of labels that you can match this up with. We did not have very good use with a Dymo one that does the heat transfer because the labels deteriorated too easy. If you do just a few at a time, like 10 at a time, you're fine. However, the next time you start to use that sheet of labels, you're going to need to change this. So let's start on label 10, or it could be level 2, 3, something like that. So we run a report, and in our report we're going to look at, these are the ones for American Girl. Apparently, there are 5 copies of American Girl in our fictional high school library availability. And so these are going to be my barcodes that I can use. Now we're going to look for spine labels. Again, I'm not going to go all the way back. I'm going to go here. And I'm going to look for, under library reports, spine and pocket labels. And we can look for a list. April books that I need to label. I've already run that once. I'm going to sort them by, nope. I'm going to do the April books that I need to label, and then I could do any copies that have been added. Again, I could change the type of label sheets that I'm using, and which one I'm going to start my label on, my font. I'm going to put mine in a 14 point, and then I wait for the spines to be ready. Let's see if this one is ready. It is. So an American Girl one right there. That would be the spine pocket label. It's pretty easy to run. And a media specialist told me that she has a constant way that she does this. Again, use your breadcrumb trails and change your parameters if you don't like the way, or your limiters if you don't like the way that it turned out. Now let's go back. And now I'm going to look at a different way to look for it, especially if you already know your barcode. So instead of under reports, we're going to circulation. And where it's normally going to default to something like checkout, check-in, this I'm going to look for copy status. Here I'm going to type in my number and go. It's going to pull up American Girl. I'm going to print labels. I do like this one if you're only doing one at a time because it allows you to do the barcode label and the spine pocket label at the same place. And then you could do them in using different kinds of label stock. And again, you can change your parameters. For example, you want the site name. Maybe you're leaving the author off, but you definitely want the title on there. Then you can have the start list. So let's say I've already done one. So let's start it on label 10. And this one starts on label 4 because I've already printed them on a previous day. We run our report. Spine pocket labels. Here we go. And so we've got our spine labels and our pocket labels in the same place. And that works out really nice. The last piece I want to show you is custom index. So one example my media specialist gave me is a parent was concerned that his son was not being challenged enough and would like to know how many books we have in a certain Lexile range. And so those would be on the custom indexes or the regular indexes that we would run. So you go under catalog. And in this case, it's going to take me over to Destiny Quest. Here I'm going to do an advanced search. And I'm going to look for specific things. So I could, of course, put in regular keywords, specific authors and things like this. But in this case, because I'm doing the advanced search, I am looking for something very custom. I could do this by reading counts, quiz points, or Lexiles. I'm going to choose the Lexile because that was the example I gave. And I'm going to choose things from 1,000 to 1,200. And I'm going to say go. So now I've gotten my search results, and we know that in this Destiny Quest of the school library for the Lexiles 1,000 to 1,200, there are 2,000 total copies of readable material, and that would be definitely something I would want to share with a parent. Hey, look at all these awesome pieces. Please let me know how I can, further help you. So that's just one way to do a custom index.